Greetings, one and all. It is Nims here, the producer of The Driver's Seat, and hope you had a very Merry Christmas. It's that weird bit of the year where Christmas is done, it's not quite New Year's, and you've got that weird bit of purgatory where you don't really want to do anything and you just want to save everything for 2023. Well, the good news is we are going to be back with The Driver's Seat in the new year. Myself, Matt and Steve are raring to go. It's Gen 3, there's a lot to talk about, but in 2022, we also had a hell of a lot of fun. And if for whatever reason you missed us doing the podcast and the live show for the 42 weeks this season, well, here's a quick little snapshot of what you've missed. Have yourself a safe and merry new year, and we'll catch you in 2023.
Where does this year rate in your career, in your glittering career? Has this been a standout for you?
I think so. Obviously, the first one's very special. Last year was pretty cool too. But this year, I think it means a lot more with, we had so many changes at the start of the year and there was a lot more doubt around how we would go with the team ownership and 2 new engineers on both cars, a new teammate. Like, there's so many changes, and we came out pretty strong. Both cars as well. Like, the team's championship was pretty important to us, and the way Brock's performed this year. Yeah, I reckon this year's probably it's been pretty cool so far. So hopefully we finish it off strong and get both championships.
Oh, it certainly was. And the great man joins us on the line. Please welcome not just a 3-time Supercars champion, also an IndyCar winner, but he's also won the Driver's Seat Power Rankings 2 years in a row. So welcome back, Scotty McLaughlin.
Hey guys. Thanks very much for having me. Appreciate the support down under. You guys are always good. Appreciate it.
I mean, of all the things that you've won, Scotty,
it's got to be the Driver's Seat
Power Rankings that just get you up and about on a Monday morning, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's what we go racing for. The Power Rankings are right up there. And, I certainly, when I went to America and showed Roger my CV, said, "Hey, I want to go to IndyCar." Sort of reached out and said, "Look, I've won the Power Rankings twice." And he's like, "Shit, we've got to get you over here, man. Got to get you over here."
Oh, mate. Hey, on a serious note, massive congrats. That's such a mega. I mean, we always had belief in you, myself, my family, a lot of people here in Australia and New Zealand, but just to see it actually come to fruition in the way it did, it's the track that you made your debut at the end of 2020. You went straight from Bathurst here in 2020 over there and thrown in the deep end. Only after one season of IndyCar under your belt and never really properly raced an open wheel race car ever, apart from go-karts. I mean, mate, that's a huge step forward, and we can touch on just what you went through the middle of last year, in a couple of minutes. But what a massive moment and proud moment for all of us, and I would say for you and your family as well.
Yeah, thanks, Stevie. Pretty surreal, man. Just like I just was, you have that belief that you can do it. And I had, to be honest, like I said this a number of times throughout the last couple of days, but I had a tremendous amount of anxiety sort of before, this year, and I felt like I ended the year really well. And, for my standards, and I felt like I was just in a really good spot with the car, and that's what we really tuned into over the off season, just, working out what setup I wanted to go to and just diving into that. And we had one test day and it felt pretty good, and then, headed into the first practice at St. Pete, and the car felt awesome right off the truck, and we hardly needed to change it. It was just, I was able to work on myself and work on, my driving lines. And then obviously to get pole on Saturday was so special. Probably one of the best laps I've done ever. And I did some pretty cool ones with your old man's machinery. Yeah. And I was, pretty pumped about that one on Saturday. And then Sunday, obviously the race. But you have that belief that you can do it. It's just, you just got to keep on believing, keep working hard, and just, it come together. And super proud that it happened. And, I just want more now. I'm just chasing it more on the simulated again tomorrow and try and make it happen again.
Just quickly wrap on Bathurst. Your co-driver, obviously, the last couple of years you've had James Moffat. Are we expecting, and Will Davison, are we expecting, not Will obviously, but are we expecting Moff to be back with you again this year at Monster Racing?
I don't know if anything's confirmed, but if you put a place or a bet on it, I think you'd be a pretty safe bet.
I love it. I love
the
it.
answer.
The Clayton's answer, the answer you get when you're not giving an answer. I love
Well,
it.
it's always good to have someone, mate. As you know, it's always good to have someone, that you know. It's all like Tander's now sort of fairly synonymous with SVG, and when you've got someone that you know is quick and is in the culture of your team and knows everybody, and you guys get on well, I think that's probably a massive plus. And every year that you guys come back together, I think it makes you stronger and stronger.
Yeah. Oh, I love driving with Moss. He's awesome to team up with, and he does a really, really good job in the car. So, yeah. We'll see.
You've done it now, Cam. That's going to be on Speed Cafe. That's going to be on Speed
Yeah.
Cafe tomorrow now.
I'm on Ladbrokes now. No, I'm not.
Waters confirms Moffat to co-drive with him at 2022. Oh, you've done it now.
And then there's the Tim Edwards phone call to Cam Waters in the morning. Hey, Cam, can we have a chat about your co-driver, please?
Yeah. That's just when you turn your phone off. Yeah. It's all good.
So, obviously there's been a huge investment roll into the team, and everyone's loving it, and they there's a whole excitement going on, and a good vibe and a good marbo and everything like that. So it's unreal.
Hey,
Good marbo.
I don't want to.
It's the serenity.
How's the serenity?
It's the vibe. It's marbo.
It's the marbo.
The vibe. The marbo.
that's-
you know what I mean?
Yeah, who was that? That was
the
Denudo.
Castle.
That was Denudo, wasn't it? The lawyer?
Yeah, Dennis Denudo.
Dennis Denudo. Oh, good.
Hey, mate,
Glass of water.
What you glass of water? How's the serenity? But
That's all I contribute, really. I can hand notes around like glass of water.
but what about?
But yeah, mate, that's been a big change for us. So, we're trying to, they spent a whole lot of money on making the team look good, feel good, and now everyone's performing good. So. Yeah,
Mate, I
only
don't
gonna
want
get better.
Vibe, and no, that's it. It's the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe. Literally.
I mean, did those COVID years affect or hamper your development, do you reckon? Or has it helped you to be tougher and more resilient?
I think to be honest with you, I think it's probably really good because, obviously a lot of what we do is a lot of interacting with the fans, and sort of on the COVID tour, all we did was go racing. We didn't really have any of that stuff to worry about, and it was kind of, there was no fans at the track, I guess. So we pretty much were just concentrating on going racing all the time, which was really good for me to help me get up to speed, driving the cars, I guess, and with racing. And also spending so much time in the car because certainly like in 2020, the racing year was so condensed that we're in the car every second weekend, which is also really good for getting yourself up to speed too.
You haven't missed one since '94. I mean, even it doesn't matter whether I go up there in Touring Car Masters or whatever it might be. I still feel that, I know the place pretty well, but I still feel there's stuff that can catch me out.
Can bite you on the backside a bit, Steve.
Yeah, that stuff that still surprises me at that joint. I don't know if it's just me or I'm just, useless, but yeah, exactly. But do you get the same feel? Do you feel like, the joint real well, a lot of the bumps, but there's still stuff that just surprises you up there?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's no doubt. And it's a circuit that's, it's the Le Mans 24 Hour, which was last weekend, or Spa or something like that. Like, it's a circuit that like really well, like the back of your hand. But every now and then, it's just going to come and bite you if you lapse some sort of concentration or, just understanding. And that's why it was interesting actually last year when you heard some of the drivers talk about the approach to Bathurst. And it was Mark Scaife and Garth Tander saying that they just want to go out there and their first lap, they want to punch out a good lap time. Sort of put the wind up people saying, I'm stamping their authority. But then for me, it's the other side. If you overdo that, then it bites you, and then you just completely lose confidence. So for me, it's all about just winding up and just getting more and more confidence every time you get in the car. And then when it comes to race day, it really doesn't matter where you start. You'd like to be in the top 10. We all love to be on pole position, but we've seen in the past, it doesn't really matter where it is. The attrition rate and everything else that goes on over those 6.5 hours, track evolution, everything changes. And you and I have had some great battles, and I know in that classic one where we had contact on that lap that you actually called, and managed to regain the lead, and that actually completed our three-peat.
A lot of the time, you don't get a second chance in these things.
No.
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Once you're gone,
Yeah,
you're gone, you know?
absolutely.
So to be able to do what you've done, mate, stick in there, do some good stuff with the S5000, work your bum off, you know, do the hard yards. You know, I think that's a testament to what you've done more so off the track than on, and then and obviously getting that opportunity again, you know, in the main game, which is something that, you know, I reckon probably happens 2% of the time.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things I kind of, in my time away, I was sort of looking back going, should I have done this different or done that? And you just, I mean, to all those probably young kids listening, you got to try and just do whatever you can, and whatever you believe is the right way to get there, just keep working hard at it, because, I mean, like what happened to me, you never know what's around the corner. You never know who's going to ring you up. You got to keep on the phone, keep in touch with everyone, and keep trying to get your foot in the door to where there is an opportunity. So, yeah, it's not the most common thing to hear of a second chance, especially in supercars. As we know, there's only 25 seats, and out of all of Australia, all the young karters and other race car drivers trying to get in there, compared to, say, your football sports where you got 25 people per team and however many teams. So it's super difficult, but yeah, really grateful to be back in here for sure.
You would have had all those promises, you know, like, oh, mate, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. And now that you're at Grove Racing and all this stuff that they're saying is actually happening, I mean, between you and Dave, I mean, who would have thought that it only took 2 rounds and then the AGP for you guys to both be standing on a podium? Like, that's pretty insane.
That's cool.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, at the start of the year, we had our goals were to be in the top 6 in the teams championship, and really, I don't think we set any expectations on where we wanted Dave and I to finish in the championship, but I certainly had my goal of, you know, probably top. Yeah, I thought top 15 would have been quite a good effort from where they'd come from last year. But now, you know, I'm 12th in the championship and haven't really put it all together yet with the speed. But I'd be disappointed with anything but a top 10 in the championship. So, and look at Dave, you know, he's top 5 in the championship, doing a great job. You know, him and his engineer are working very well together. But yes, it just came about so quickly, and I think one of the main things is we've just, you know, you talk about money and all that sort of stuff, which goes a long way, but it's more, you know, everyone's got very similar equipment out there, and, you know, there's probably only a couple of % between each team, but that makes all the difference, you know. In terms of lap time, a percent is, you know, it can be a tenth or two around the track, and that's the difference between first or 10th. And so we just had to get the right philosophy with the car, and I believe that, you know, just simplifying everything has put us in a good window, and got us a better understanding of our package, because I think they were sort of all over the place last year with their setups, trying to find where they needed to be, and you know, the windows are so small these days that if you change the rear ride height by 5 mil, it can, you know, you can miss the target massively.
Well out of the window.
It's all about fine tuning these days.
There is no doubt that earlier this year there was a lot of chat about, you know, potentially you not continuing on into 2023 and beyond. We know that has now been put to bed. You're going to be with us for another 2 years, which is sensational. But now that you've had such a massive career and you've achieved so much, is there anything left to do for Mark Winterbottom from a racing point of view?
Well, you know, like for me, I don't look back and I don't hang my hat off a Bathurst win or a championship, because like you get so frustrated when you get beat. Like I hate getting beat. And, you know, I think when you retire, you sit back and you go, oh, kids, I won Bathurst and I drove really good that day. And, you know, when I signed with Charlie, it was very much, we're going to get this team to the front. And I would rather leave the team having won a championship and have it at the front and say, hey, you know, we built this, and walk away, than go, hey, it's half done. Because I know I can do the job, and I know Charlie's, determined to get there. So you don't walk away from something you haven't finished. So, and that means work hard, recruit hard, train hard, do all the things that go with it, and not accept, not accept that you can't win. We need to go and win, and the job's not done.
How have you been prepping for that? Because there haven't been that many additional driver sessions. I mean, there was Sandown last time, and I think you jumped in at Winton at the start of the year. Have you had a crack at Frosty's Commodore recently?
Mate, you're spot on. I literally did the test day at the beginning of the year, and I did about, 10 or 12 laps, as you'd normally do in the first part of the year, because, they've got a good program to gear up for the year, rightfully so. And then I missed the second one because Scotty had a pretty decent shun. I think it was at Darwin. So they only had one car to go testing with. So the co-drivers didn't go, or I didn't go. And then, jumped in and did 8 or 10 laps at Sandown. So very similar prep build-up that I've had for the past few years with COVID and everything to Bathurst. But look, it is what it is. I mean, clearly, I've done it a few times before. So the team and, myself included, I know what's required and what needs to be done. And as you said, when you get to the mountain, things are a bit different this year. It's going to be great to see the crowd. We're expecting a huge one. I mean, from what I understand, the camping sites have been sold out for a while. Tickets are selling pretty hot. And it looks like it's going to be a big event this year. And I know Frosty's pretty motivated, as he always is, but the car's been getting a bit better, taking the exception Pukekohe. But the team's done some really, they've acquired some good guys in the team now, and that's obviously helped the management side. We think we're in a better position than we were this time last year, that's for sure.
Hey, mate, I think from me looking from the outside, and this is more particularly to you, I mean, because I know you quite well, how have you been? Like, every time, you've had, I wouldn't even say some bad luck, you've had some treacherous luck this year with accidents, with incidents, with bits and pieces like that. There's been probably a lot of money invested in the car to repair it, where it probably could be going into engineering it and new parts, whatever it might be. How have you been going? I mean, I know you're generally quite a positive bloke all the time anyway, but I think that even your run that you had to a point, I mean, I know there's been some great positives, but you've got to think back and go, geez, what have I done here? What did I do at the start of the year to deserve this? I mean, has it been a bit like that, or have you just been, no, we're good, we're positive, we're moving forward, sort of every weekend?
No, I mean, you can't kid yourself. It's definitely been challenging, and Townsville's been a difficult one for me because, I think that's really the only one that you look at and you go, okay, maybe things could have been different, but it could have been a very much an isolated one crash for the year is what it feels like that could have been, but it feels like we've had so many that they do stack up, and it's frustrating. It definitely is one that felt like it was just like, cherry on top. That's like, it felt like it had happened over and over. So, that's where it's difficult, because it's difficult to just isolate these incidents and think of them as a one-off when there's been so many bad things happen throughout the year. But it doesn't change the fact that this weekend, is an opportunity to change the narrative or get myself back on the podium or right at the front. So I just always think that, my goal is to never let yesterday affect today or today affect tomorrow. Every race is an opportunity, but it's challenging, especially, mentally this game is tough, and it's, whether it's the fans, I guess, cracking onto the drivers through social media or whatever it might be. Everyone has an opinion. So best thing to do is just ignore it. Or, I mean, I actually quite enjoy jumping on and having a bit of banter and correcting the odd spud grammar or something. That often cheers me up, especially when I'm bored. I can't help myself. But
how good's correcting grammar? I get that. I do that. I do that on the show here. Or it is the best when I see someone have a crack at me. They used to have a crack at me in Super Ute being on socials, and you'd get some smart aleck that had, they'd say, or to be fair about something or whatever, and they'd spell it incorrectly, and you just go back, not mention anything about what they were saying, just correct the grammar.
Give us a bit of a summary of the jump from Super 2 to supercars, and is it what you expected? I know you've done some long distance races as co-drivers in the past, but your first full-time year, it's obviously a bigger step than what people realise.
100%. I mean, and you know what, Steve, as you know, it's not even just down to one thing. I mean, I think firstly, the professionalism from all the teams. I'm not saying that Super 2 and Super 3 aren't, but you're at this level where, some teams have got 30, 40, 50 employees, and everyone's trying to do the same thing, with all the engineers, and these cars are in their 10th season now of running. So all the drivers that aren't rookies, they've been driving these cars in the main series for quite a long time. There's so much experience there collectively on the grid, and the intensity level, I know it probably sounds a bit cliche, but it is just another step up, and every single session, everyone is just on their game. So it's the biggest thing I probably got used to, or trying to get used to, is that, for example, in Super 2, if you just do a quality lap that's 95%, you hit your marks and you just sort of get everything right. You don't try and overdrive, don't overstep the mark. You're probably guaranteed a top 3, top 4 starting position, because a lot of guys, just try and push a bit too hard and make mistakes, whereas in the main series, that's just not enough. 95% lap is not enough. You have to be 100%, and sometimes that's not enough.
How long was she gone for from home? Like, was it a month? Is it 2 weeks? I mean, you don't really get an idea of how long the camp was.
Yeah, so the filming was 14 days. Well, it was a 14-day course. So she went about a week earlier, about 3 days before phone was gone. So. And then it was the 2 weeks afterwards. She was in the couldn't come home, cross the border for 2 weeks, and that was when I had to leave for the 7 weeks on the road in Sydney last year. So I dropped to the airport, I think September 28, and didn't see her till Bathurst. She came to Bathurst at the start of December. So it was, pretty full on. Pretty full on time for us to be apart from each other. But didn't hear. Just get the odd snip from the producer. They sort of say once they're like, please have your phone on at 2 a.m. because the recruits are copping a beasting at 2 a.m. So I was the contact that would be called if Rihanna had to voluntarily withdraw the. So a few times I just get there's a 2 a.m. beasting, have your phone on, and I was always just, it'd be 4 a.m. I'm like, my phone didn't ring. She's lasted another day.
And
it was pretty full on. Yeah.
Was that in reverse too? Like, would she get a call when she got sick of Sydney Motorsport Park, or?
She heard enough of me at Sydney Motorsport Park. That's for sure.
You get the guys like you've done one with my old man, and you're doing one with JR now, and Cedo, Crompton. A lot of the guys that I idolised as a kid, and they're all, Larry. They're all very standoffish. No one will want to hear that. My dad's still the same now. He still doesn't believe and understand why people still want his autograph. So. When you go from that era to this year, and now do you find that this year is a bit different in the way that let's talk about me, and we'll do 400 pages on me, and trying to invite it in rather than the old school way, whereas it's I'm not really involved in promoting myself. Why would anyone want to hear my story, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of those guys are a product of their era, Stevie, and you and I are similar vintage. You are slightly older than me, but not very much. But we're in the same line of our era. So
we're a hybrid era because we're halfway in between.
Yeah, we are. We're in the middle.
That
we are,
and social media, and I think that's probably got a big impact on what I'm talking about.
Oh, mate, I span VHS, DVD, and streaming, so I know exactly what you're all about there. I know exactly what you mean.
Betamax.
Well, I'm not quite that old. Steady on. Pass the Beta. I haven't got one of those. Jeepers. That's definitely a little bit before my time.
You've had a drive of the Gen 3 Camaro. What do you think? Different? Is it going to be hard? Is it going to be much harder than the cars currently are to drive? Is it going to... throw a spanner in the works for some people. What's your thoughts on it? I mean, I know they're going to be developed way more than what they currently are now when you do get to drive them properly. But at the moment, are they a difficult car to drive?
Yeah, I probably don't have a huge view on them right now, only because, you know, the last time I think I drove it was November, December last year. So sort of back then, they didn't have the roll bars in them, the right, you know, motor in them and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, since then, the amount of development on them has been crazy. Like, I know Brody has tested them more recently, and even just the times he was telling me that they're doing compared to we were back then. Maybe it's just better than me, I don't know. But, yeah, the times around Ipswich and all that. So it sounds like the development's going great on them. I think just, you know, as a team, and I've experienced it since stepping up into the main game, you know, when I'm still young, but I guess in Super 2, I didn't realise that you could build all these new parts with uprights, cross members, all this sort of stuff, and try and design new stuff throughout this period. And I think it's just going to take that out of it, where, you know, we've all got the same stuff. It's just from their tuning, and I think that'll, you know, not take the guessing work out of it, but take some of the inconsistencies in the teams and make it a little bit easier for, you know, a team that might be right now, I don't know, further down pit lane to be a bit more consistent, or a driver that you know, is quite good in trying to show himself, but not always in the best team. He can get good results. So I think it'll make it a bit more interesting, and not just every weekend the same guys winning.